Welcome back to the Toppy Blues, your source for all things Everton. My name is Connor Williams, joined by Ollie Hayes, and we are doing the extra time match review on the Merseyside derby at Anfield, which finished 2-0 to Liverpool. Um, First up, Ollie, thoughts on the lineup going into the game?
Um, for me, I think it was absolutely necessary to go unchanged for that game. I think the way they played against Bournemouth with Onana and Garner in midfield, I think that was the absolute necessary thing to go into that Merseyside derby. So yeah, I could have no complaints at 11:30 on Saturday morning. I think it was the right decision, and I think Dyke got the tactics spot on.
Yeah, I agree. I think if he'd changed it, he'd only have opened himself up to a bit of flack as well. First off, obviously DCL missing a chance, and then I thought up until obviously Ashley Young, I thought we took the game to them for the first part of the first half. I thought it was pretty much end to end. What did you think?
No, I agree with you. It was definitely end to end, and I think one thing that we've done at Anfield over the years is we've gone there and showed them too much respect and gone there and just played in our shell and just let them come on to us. We didn't do that in the first half an hour, and especially before Ashley Young got sent off. I think we definitely took the game to them, and we were so unfortunate not to go ahead with Calvert-Lewin's chance. And I think if that goes in, it's a completely different game. And then we sort of sit back and do take the pressure a little bit more, knowing that we've got that one goal lead. But as you said there, it was end to end, and it was almost uncharacteristic of a Merseyside derby where both teams have got the opportunity to win the game, especially in that first half.
Yeah, defensively we were sound as well up until Ashley Young's red card. Obviously, Tomiskas didn't get a yellow card. Was similar. So you could argue he should have got a yellow card. What did you think though of Ashley Young's red card? Obviously, been on a second yellow. Second yellow. Do you think he, with his age and experience, should have known a little bit better?
I think for me, he can have no complaints. And I know we want to sit here and say that he shouldn't have walked and, all the refereeing decisions that didn't go in our favour that afternoon. But yeah, for me, a player of that experience shouldn't be diving in like that. Luis Diaz, we know he's a tricky customer and we know he's going to try and beat players like that. So, Ashley Young, he's meant to be one of the most experienced players in our team. And to dive in like that, and especially when you're on a yellow card, it was just annoying. And we all kind of knew that he's got a yellow card in him. And the second he got that yellow card early doors, it was really, I think the writing was on the wall for him, especially with Luis Diaz coming up against him. So yeah, for me, you can have no complaints, and we can talk about the referees all they want, but when you give him the opportunity to send a player off like that, he can have no complaints, unfortunately.
Yeah, obviously it meant we went into half time, a man down. Changes need to be made with that in mind, especially because it was a defensive player. What were your thoughts on the substitutions and the change of formation that followed that?
I was shocked to say the least because I felt like McNeil and Harrison were our only outlets in the first half after Young got sent off, and I think to take them off, it was kind of it was almost submitting to Liverpool and just playing for a nil-nil. And I know when you're at Anfield, the fans are on your back. You know, nil-nil would have been a good result for us, especially in the complexion of the game. But I was a little bit surprised he took both of them off. Maybe he would have gone for a different approach and gone five at the back and then maybe left a McNeil or a Harrison up there alongside a striker just as an outlet rather than taking them both off and leaving Dom or Beto, who came on a little bit later, just completely isolated. But for me, I think he had to make a change at halftime, a defensive change. I think in hindsight, it was probably the right thing to do to go five at the back and to bring on Nathan Patterson because in a game like that, you need all the defensive support you can get. And for the first 15, 20 minutes of the game, we were playing 10 versus 11. And I know it should have been 10 versus 10 when Canate obviously put that challenge in. But for me, in the complexion of the game at halftime, he had to make that changes. So again, I can have no complaints there.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Canate. That was going to be my next talking point. Obviously, a possible second yellow. I think we all are in agreement. Even Jurgen Klopp should have been a second yellow and down to
Yeah.
10 men each.
I think everyone knows in the world of football at the moment, don't they? I think everyone knows that that was a second yellow card and he should have walked. And the true sort of showing that everyone knew it was a yellow card was Jurgen Klopp taking him off 2 minutes later. And I think that was the perfect symbol to know that the referee had made a mistake and hadn't sent him off there. But those decisions change games. And if that decision goes in our favour, it's 10v10. We can start to play out a bit then. We can start to come out of our shell a little bit more. And and it would have been more even. It would have been more end to end like it was before the Ashley Young red card in the first half. But for me, that decision that really killed us. And I think the head started to drop then, and the confidence went down, and then to concede that penalty was annoying. But for me, that decision that is going to go down as probably one of the worst decisions this season. Genuinely, and I'm not saying that from a biased point of view. That genuinely is up there probably with one of the worst decisions this season.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I couldn't quite believe it when he didn't give it. Neither could anyone else. Obviously, the penalties mentioned. I think up until the penalty, like you said, we didn't attack much because the outlets were taken out. But defensively, I thought we were pretty solid. I thought we looked comfortable. Bearing in mind this was at Anfield and they had an extra man. I thought we were
Mm.
comfortable enough defensively. Up until the handball, which I mean, I know it's hard to say, but just is a penalty, isn't it, in today's game?
Yeah, it is, and it was so unfortunate for King because, as we said there, he put in a good performance from when he came on at half time, and as you said, we looked solid defensively. So to be undone by a harsh penalty, it is a penalty. We can all agree that it is a penalty, and just to be undone by such bad luck, especially at Anfield, it's like we never get any luck at Anfield, do we? And to be undone by that was just annoying. But yeah, it was coming. You felt like the game was changing in their favour, especially as I said before with the Konate decision not going in our favour. They just upped the ante, didn't they? And they changed the whole dynamic of the game, and they changed the pace, and they upped it in the final third, and it was coming. It was coming, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, I think we tried to. I think by then, Deitch was sort of forced to make the attacking changes, which he did, bringing on Danjuma as well, and Shamiti towards the end. And ultimately, I think that ambition to try and get a late minute equaliser probably the undoing for the second one to slot past us, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think he had to go for the game, didn't he? I think he had to try and equalise it up. And one thing I will say is Dan Juma and Chimiti, I was really impressed with them and the impact they made when they came on. They were making different runs. They were giving Van Dijk and Matip it was at the time, some real question marks and some headaches over defence. So every credit to them because over the years we've lacked so much attacking depth, haven't we? And players to come off the bench that just haven't changed games. They definitely changed it, and they definitely gave the Liverpool defense something to think about. But yeah, as you said there, it forced Dyche's hand and it forced us to play out, and that played into Liverpool's hands ultimately, and meant they would get that second goal on the counter attack, which was it probably wasn't a fair scoreline in reflection. I think 1-0, 0-0, an equal game. I think for large parts of that game we were in it and we were showing spells that we could definitely nick something from it. So I think 2-0 was a little bit harsh of a scoreline, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it reflects very fairly. On the output of the game. Especially when you look back at it, because people won't look back and look really that in depth on it. But if you look back at the end of the season, at a vague sort of looking back, it looks a lot worse than it is.
Mm.
Dubious decisions, an unlucky handball, and then the second one coming from overcommitting, trying to get that equaliser. Like we've said, we were neck and neck for some part of it before the sending
Mm.
off. It felt like you said we don't get a look at Anfield, and it felt like one of those. It's in the script already. The way it finished, it just felt like that was already gonna, sort of happen. You could sort of sense if
Yeah.
it was going to be anyway. We were either going to get thumped or we were going to be unluckily done over.
Yeah, and especially after the Diaz decision the other week, it was,
Yeah,
a referee decision was bound to go their way at some point. But for me, the lads can leave with their heads held high. They put in a really spirited performance there, and Dyche as well. I think that his tactics were spot on for most of the game. I think the only thing is that he was forced, as we keep saying, he was forced his hand to come and play out, and that's just ultimately why it finished 2-0. But no, you know what? All of them can leave with their heads held high because to go there to Anfield, especially with the team that Liverpool have got, and put in a performance like that and arguably be done over by a difficult refereeing performance and a couple of bad decisions here and there. I think it's every credit to them, and it shows that we are building something and we are building up each week to put in these performances.
yeah, I agree. The performances get better and better. I think now we're about to hit our hard run. Watching us in this made me feel a little bit less daunting about this run because I think we play a couple of the top six in the next
Mm.
in the next 5 weeks. Um, this put my nerves to edge a little bit more because we've got for us the worst ones out the way now, which is
Mm.
Liverpool. Um,
Yeah.
so it's sort of relaxes you a little bit. And like you said, this Liverpool squad, as much as it might pain us all to say it is a fantastic squad.
Yeah, it is. And, I think playing teams like that, you learn a lot about your own squad very quickly. And I think if we play like that in the next few games, we've got West Ham this weekend, we've got Burnley in the cup, Brighton. They're three games that I'm looking at that we can definitely take, a passage into the next round of the cup and then 4, maybe even 6 points if we play well. So, it is looking up. It is looking a lot more positive, and especially comparing it what it was after the Luton game or what it was after the first away game of the season at Villa, for example. Things are looking up and it is getting more positive each week.
Yeah, almost definitely. Obviously, we'll do our worst players first, and then our best. Who is your worst player?
I mean, it has to be Ashley Young. I know we don't want to drill in too much, but to get sent off in a Merseyside derby, you're not covering yourself in glory there. And an experienced player like him, as I said before, shouldn't be diving in like that and shouldn't be getting done by the tricks of Lewis Diaz as easily as he did. So, yeah, for me, he has to be at the bottom of my list.
Yeah, coincidentally, I think I heard the commentator say still out of the last 17 sending offs in a Merseyside derby, Everton have been 14 of them, which doesn't actually surprise me. Some of them a bit dubious, some of them I don't think we can have any arguments with, but
No,
yeah, 14 of the 17, mental.
wow.
Yeah, when I heard it, I was like, oh my
That's a mad start. That's a mental start.
So give me your player that did well. Give me your best player.
For me, it's Vitaly Mikalenko or Jared Brandthwaite, but I'll probably go with Vitaly Mikalenko. I know Salah got both of the goals, but it wasn't reflective of Mikalenko's performance at all. I thought he kept him quiet for the majority of the game. Salah barely got a sniff there, and he's a world-class winger who's, won multiple awards, won a Premier League, won a Champions League with Liverpool. So he's a top player. It has to be said. And for Mikalenko to keep him quiet like he did, for me, just shows how much he's come on in the last few weeks. And to put in a spirited defensive performance at Anfield, we keep coming to it. It's a difficult place to go, especially as a player and a left back who's not had a lot of game time in recent weeks. And for me, he has to be top of that list for me because he was he was so solid and he looked really calm and assured, which is something that we haven't seen from him for the last few seasons.
Yeah, I think every now and then, obviously he has had a rough patch, and then every now and then he manages to come up against a winger that you think, you go into it thinking, oh my god, I don't want to watch this. But he ends up holding his own. I think when we played Arsenal, everyone thought Saka was gonna,
Mm.
take the mick a bit, but I thought he played pretty well against Arsenal, keeping Saka at bay. Um, he does have these periods where he keeps very good wingers quiet for majority of the game. I did wonder if you'd mentioned Bradford because I've seen all the Twitter tacticians waxing lyrical about him. Like, obviously, we know how good he is, but Bramthwaite's gained a lot of attention from
Mm.
neutral fans on Twitter at the minute.
I think he is going to be a very, very top centre half, and he's almost characteristic of John Stones. I think he's got very similar characteristics as John Stones did in an Everton shirt, and you can just see him going on to much bigger and better things than Everton in a few years' time. But he was very, very solid, and I think, as you said there, he's pricked up a lot of ears with rival fans that they might look at him in January or next summer, and we might get quite a sizable fee for him if we did come to sell him. But I think the main thing is he signed a new contract now as well, so he is our player, and he's our player for a long time if we want him there. So, but yeah, as you said there, tacticians are starting to look at him now as a proper top centre half, and it's every credit to him because he's had a couple of rough years at Everton, not getting into the first team. He got sent off at Brentford in that first year under Lampard. I think a lot of us were worried about his composure and what he looked like as a centre half, but that year at PSV, he's done him the world of good, and he looks like a really hot prospect and a top Premier League centre half.
Yeah, I agree. When you said a few years, I was like, from what I can see, I don't know. I think next summer definitely is going to be a bit of a tough one. But like you said, because he signed this new contract, I mean, if he does go next summer, it'll be Everton name the price sort of
Mm.
scenario, which is nice to be in. It's nice to be in that position where we're not, we don't. Hopefully, we don't have to sell him. But if we do, we get to name the price. We're not in a state where people can start throwing in low bids and open to
Yeah.
steal. Well, fingers crossed anyway. God knows what's going to happen with the takeover, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
So give me your final thoughts then overall on the Merseyside derby.
I can't be too disappointed because, as I keep saying, they're a top side. It's always going to be difficult going to a place like Anfield, especially in a Merseyside derby. But I keep reiterating it. The lads played well. They can leave with their heads held high. I hope it doesn't do too much damage to the confidence of them going to West Ham on Sunday. But every credit to them. They put in a top performance, and that's all we can ask, really.
Agreed. Yeah, I think onwards and upwards. It was a game that most people would have took a hit at, early easy hit at anyway. So the fact there was a spirited performance is even better. That is all I've got time for. Thanks for joining me, mate. Been a pleasure to speak to you.
No, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's been good.
Don't forget, guys, to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and comment down below your thoughts. We look forward to reading them and see you soon.